You are living a life that is not yours. I'm not saying this as a metaphor. I'm not saying it to provoke you. I'm saying it because it is the most uncomfortable reality you are going to hear today. Every decision you make, every bite you put into your mouth, every thought that passes through your mind in the first seconds of the morning, none of that was born from you. It was born from a program. An old, an invisible program that has been running in the background for years without anyone ever warning you of its existence. And the worst part is not that it exists. The worst part is that you have confused it with your identity. You believe that what you feel is you. You believe that those automatic reactions, those cravings, that constant state of tension you've carried in your body for as long as you can remember, you believe that all of that is you. And it isn't. It never was. Now, before you close this thinking, you've heard this story before. Listen to me. Because what you're about to discover today is not what any self-help book has told you. It's not a 5-step breathing technique or a mantra to repeat in front of the mirror. What you're going to understand today goes much deeper. It goes to the core of why you remain trapped, even when you think you're moving forward. It goes to the reason why your best intentions evaporate after 3 days. It will explain why some people transform their lives from the root, while others spend decades going around in the same circle without ever leaving it. And the answer is in a place you have never looked. It's in your body. Wait, don't leave yet. This is not what you think. We live in a culture that separated the mind from the body centuries ago and never bothered to put them back together again. Descartes institutionalized it with his famous phrase, "I think, and therefore I am." And with that, he relegated the body to something secondary, to a vehicle, to a transport machine for the brilliant mind. That idea sank so deeply that even today, when someone wants to transform themselves, the first thing they do is read. They look for information. They look for the right idea. They look for the concept that will enlighten them. And yet they remain the same. Because the mistake is not in what you think. What the mistake is in what you do with the body that houses that thought. This is what no one tells you. Consciousness doesn't live only in the head. Consciousness lives in every cell of your body. In the tension in your shoulders when you receive news you didn't expect. In the way your jaw tightens when you feel you're losing control. In the depth of your breathing when you are alone with silence. Your body does not lie. Your mind can build narratives. It can justify. It can deny. It can build castles of words to explain why your life is the way it is. But your body always tells the truth. And it has been telling you something for years that you have not wanted to hear. Do you want to know what it is? That you are on autopilot, that you are not the one driving. Imagine this. You've been driving the same car down the same road for years. You no longer need to think about where to turn. Your body does it automatically. And that is exactly how your mind works in 90% of your daily life. Neuroscientists have documented it over and over again. More than 95% of the decisions we make each day are completely automatic. They are not yours in the conscious sense of the word. They are habits, conditionings, responses recorded in the nervous system through years of repetition. You think you decide. In reality, you react. And there is an enormous difference between deciding and reacting. The one who decides acts from consciousness. The one who reacts acts from fear, from habit, from the program that was installed in them when they still had no criteria to choose what should be installed. And here comes the first bomb I want you to digest today. It doesn't matter how many times you have tried to change if you have not changed the physical substrate from which you operate. It doesn't matter how many visualizations you have done if your body remains in the same state of chronic tension. It doesn't matter how many books you have read if your nervous system is still calibrated for survival and not for creation. Because the body has memory. The body stores records that the mind has already forgotten. And as long as those records remain active, you will keep attracting the same situations, repeating the same mistakes, choosing the same kinds of people, just reacting in the same way. Not because you are weak, but because no one ever taught you how to delete those files. Now I'm going to tell you something that happens in nature, and that will change the way you see your own transformation. The silkworm. You know the silkworm, a small creature, almost invisible, that spends its days eating mulberry leaves. Just that. Eating and eating and eating. It doesn't seem like much, right? Nothing about it suggests that it will become something different. And yet there comes a moment when something inside it activates. An impulse it doesn't understand, an instruction that doesn't come from reason, but from the deepest design of its being. And it begins to spin. It begins to wrap itself with what it has consumed. It encloses itself. It disappears. For days, to the outside world, it doesn't exist. It has withdrawn. It has become invisible. And what happens inside that cocoon is something science is still trying to fully explain. The worm does not just change shape. It dissolves. It literally becomes a cellular soup where almost everything that it was before loses its structure. And from that dissolution, from that apparent chaos, something completely new emerges. A butterfly. A being that flies. A being that cannot even imagine itself from the perspective of the worm it once was. Now listen to me carefully. The same thing can happen to you. But there is one condition. And it's the one no one wants to accept. Or the silkworm does not become a butterfly because it wishes to. It becomes a butterfly because it consumed exactly what it needed to consume. Because throughout its life as a worm, it fed on what contained the biological information necessary to activate its transformation. The mulberry leaf was not just food. It was code. It was instruction. It was the language with which its body learned to speak with its own destiny. And you, what are you consuming? I'm not only asking about food, although we'll get there. I'm asking about everything. What enters your mind every morning in the first 10 minutes of the day? What kind of conversations feed your mental field? What emotions do you consume through screens, through the news, through the complaints of the people around you? What thoughts do you ruminate on in loops before going to sleep? Because all of that is food. All of that is writing code in your nervous system. All of that is configuring the quality of your consciousness. And if what you consume is fear, comparison, scarcity, the constant narrative that the world is against you, then it doesn't matter how consciously you try to change. The substrate remains the same, and the substrate rules. Modern neuroscience calls it neuroplasticity, but contemplatives knew it thousands of years ago. The Buddha taught it 2,500 years ago with brutal simplicity. We are what we repeatedly do. We are not what we think once. We are not what we wish for in a moment of clarity. We are the pattern. We are the repetition. We are the habit embodied in flesh and bone. And now here comes something I want you to feel, not just understand. When someone tells you to change your mindset, to think positively, to visualize the future you want, without changing absolutely anything in your body, in your space, in your most basic physical habits. They are asking you to change the software without touching the hardware. They are asking you to install a new program on a machine that doesn't have the capacity to process it. And that doesn't work. It never worked. But it remains the most popular advice in the world because it sounds good and it doesn't demand anything. What demands something, what demands everything, is this: beginning to apply conscious intention to the smallest acts of your existence. Do you know what happens when you eat in a rush, standing up, looking at your phone, swallowing without chewing? Your nervous system registers that moment as a threat, not as nourishment. Your body understands, at a primitive physiological level, that if you're eating like that, it's because there is danger in the environment that doesn't allow you to stop. So instead of activating digestion mode, it activates survival mode. Blood is redirected to the muscles. The prefrontal cortex partially deactivates. Digestion slows down. The body does not absorb nutrients with the same efficiency. And the most chilling part of all is that this state, repeated thousands of times, becomes your baseline. It becomes your normal. Think about it. How many times a day do you unknowingly activate your own survival mode? How many times a day do you send your body the signal that it is not safe to be present, that you have to hurry, that there is no time, that danger is lurking? And then you wonder why you are anxious, why you can't sleep, why your mind never stops, why, even though nothing serious is happening, you live with that background tension you can't name but know perfectly well. That is autopilot. And you will not deactivate it with intention alone. You will deactivate it with practice, with repeated conscious action, with the decision to apply presence to what you used to do in zombie mode. But before I tell you how, I need you to understand something deeper, something that has to do with the power of attention, or something the mystics of all traditions have always known and that quantum physics is beginning to confirm from another angle. Attention is energy, and where you place your attention, your vital energy flows. This is not a New Age metaphor. It is literally what happens in your nervous system. When you attend to something, when you truly observe it with full awareness, you activate neural circuits. You strengthen connections. When that attention is repeated, those connections become highways. And highways determine where the traffic of your mind goes. If your attention habitually lives in fear, in scarcity, in anticipating disaster, that is the highway that widens. That is the one your mind travels effortlessly. Meanwhile, the road toward calm, creativity, genuine presence becomes narrower until it is almost impassable. And now listen carefully, because here is the twist no one tells you. You cannot change that through willpower, or you cannot order your nervous system to change highways simply because you decided you want to. The nervous system does not obey mental commands. It obeys physical patterns. It obeys signals coming from the body. And here lies the secret that the most powerful contemplative traditions have guarded for centuries. The path to consciousness does not pass through the head. It passes through the body. It always passed through the body. The most ancient meditation practices are not mental exercises. They are exercises in bodily presence, shamanic rituals, sacred fasting, yoga postures, Gregorian chants, Sufi dance. All of them work through the body to transform the state of consciousness, not the other way around. First the body, then the mind moves. And now comes the question I want you to ask yourself with brutal honesty. Are you inhabiting your body, or are you dragging it around? Most people I know, and probably you as well, basically live in their heads. The body is something they carry behind them like a heavy suitcase, something they feed just enough so it won't complain too much, something they sleep just enough so it works the next day, something they move occasionally when the guilt becomes unbearable. But truly inhabiting it, really feeling it, truly listening to it, that is something completely different. Inhabiting the body means feeling the temperature of the air as it enters your nostrils. It means noticing the weight of your feet on the ground when you walk. It means knowing in real time where you are holding tension and what is causing it. It means eating and knowing what you are eating, chewing and knowing you are chewing, breathing and knowing you are breathing. It sounds simple, right? But I challenge you to try it for a whole day. I challenge you to go have breakfast tomorrow without your phone, without music, without a podcast, without a screen. Just you and the food, chewing slowly, feeling every texture. And you will see what happens. You will see how uncomfortable it becomes. You will see how your mind begins desperately searching for external stimulation because inner silence makes it uneasy, because it is not used to being alone with itself without entertainment. And that discomfort, that urgency to escape pure presence, is exactly the symptom of the problem we are talking about. We are addicted to distraction, and distraction is not the problem in itself. The problem is what it covers. Distraction covers the emptiness that would appear if you turned off autopilot. And that emptiness is scary, because in that emptiness, you would have to truly meet yourself. You would have to listen to what your body has been telling you for years. You would have to see the patterns you have been ignoring. And many people prefer to keep running. But something incredible happens when you stop. When you truly stop and sit in that uncomfortable silence, something begins to move inside you that you didn't know was asleep. Contemplatives call it awakening. Neuroscientists call it activation of the prefrontal cortex. Somatic therapists call it integration. But they are all talking about the same thing. The moment when consciousness stops operating from the frightened reptile and begins to operate from the being that chooses. And that moment does not arrive through a revelation. It does not suddenly come one afternoon while looking at the sky. It comes through practice. It comes through the most ordinary habits turned into rituals of presence. It comes when you begin to chew more slowly, when you begin to breathe with your belly instead of your chest, when you change the posture in which you are sitting right now reading this, when you realize that the space in which you live, the order or chaos of that space, is directly affecting the quality of your mental state. Do you know why Buddhist monasteries are extremely orderly and clean spaces? Not for aesthetics, for neurology. A cluttered environment constantly activates small stress responses in the nervous system. Tiny alarms that fire unconsciously and drain your energy without you noticing. An orderly environment does the opposite. It creates a signal of safety for the nervous system. A clean space tells the body, and by extension the mind, that there is no immediate threat. And when there is no threat, find the prefrontal cortex activates. And when the prefrontal cortex activates, you can think clearly. You can create. You can decide instead of reacting. Do you see how everything is connected? Now I want to take you even deeper, because there is something that happens on the level of consciousness that goes beyond neuroscience. something neuroscience is still trying to capture with its instruments, but that the most ancient spiritual traditions already described with astonishing precision. And every thought you have has a frequency. This is not poetry. Electroencephalography studies confirm it. Different mental states produce different brain waves. Beta waves are associated with alertness and analytical thinking. Alpha waves appear in states of relaxed calm and creativity. Theta waves occur in deep meditation and right at the threshold of sleep. And they are the territory where the deepest changes happen, where the subconscious is most accessible. And delta waves belong to deep, dreamless sleep, where the body regenerates and the nervous system integrates. Most modern people spend the majority of their conscious life in beta, constantly thinking, analyzing, worrying, planning, reacting. The nervous system in permanent alert mode. And that has a cost. A huge cost paid in health, creativity, connection with oneself, the capacity to genuinely feel one's own life. Dropping into alpha is already an achievement. Dropping into theta is what mystics have always sought. And how do you go down there? Not through effort. Effort keeps you in beta. You go down by letting go. You go down with the body, with deep breathing that activates the vagus nerve, with sustained silence, with slow conscious movement, with food chewed calmly, with a gaze that stops searching and begins receiving. This is the great secret that no one has put into simple words for you. It's not about doing more. It's about doing with more presence. 1 minute of truly conscious action is worth more, in terms of real transformation, than an hour of activity on autopilot. And now I want you to understand something about food, because this is where most people get lost, where something almost esoteric happens that needs to be said out loud. We are literally what we consume, not metaphorically, not as wellness advice. Literally, the cells of your body regenerate constantly. Approximately 90% of the cells in your body are replaced within a period of 7 to 10 years. The atoms that make up your liver today are not the same ones as a decade ago. The material used to build the new version of your body came directly from what you ate. You are, in a strictly material sense, a conversion of what you introduced into yourself. But there is something more, something beyond the material. Food carries information, not only calories, not only macronutrients. It carries energetic information. Indigenous peoples knew this. Traditional medicines from every culture knew this. Ayurveda, Chinese medicine, Amazonian healers, they all had sophisticated systems to understand that food does not only nourish the physical body, but also affects the state of consciousness. A mental experiment. Imagine you have spent 3 days eating ultra-processed foods, excess sugar, industrial fats, additives. Now imagine how your mind feels, how your emotional state feels. Now imagine 3 days eating real, fresh foods, well chewed, consumed calmly. The difference is not only digestive, the difference is in mental clarity, in emotional state, in the quality of your thoughts. And here comes something that may sound radical, but has both spiritual and scientific support. The way you chew is a practice of consciousness. Chewing slowly, completely, with full attention, is one of the most countercultural acts you can perform in the modern world. It is an act of rebellion against autopilot. It is the simplest signal you can send to your nervous system that you are present, that there is no danger, that you can take your time, that life deserves to be savored, not devoured. And that signal, repeated every day, at every meal, has the power to recalibrate your nervous system in ways that no isolated therapy session can achieve. Because therapy happens 1 hour a week, eating happens 3 times a day, and the nervous system learns through repetition. I'll go further. The posture in which you are sitting right now is affecting your emotional state, not the other way around. There is a fascinating line of research led by scientists like Amy Cuddy that documents how body postures modify hormonal levels in a matter of minutes. Expansive postures increase testosterone and reduce cortisol. Slouched postures do exactly the opposite. Your body does not wait for your mind to decide to feel safe in order to generate hormones of safety. Your body can generate those hormones if you give it the correct postural signal. The body precedes the mind. The body can lead. And what about breathing? Here we enter a territory that is at the same time the oldest and the most revolutionary in all of human psychology and spirituality. And control of the breath is the only bridge that exists between the autonomic nervous system, the one that works without your conscious permission, like digestion or heartbeat, and the somatic nervous system, the one you can control voluntarily. Breathing lives in both worlds. And that gives it a unique power that no other function in the body has. When you breathe slowly, deeply, expanding the abdomen, you directly activate the vagus nerve. And the vagus nerve is the master cable of the parasympathetic nervous system, the one that takes you out of fight or flight mode and places you into rest and digest mode, which is also the mode of creativity, connection, learning, and love. Yogis knew it 5,000 years ago. Samurai used it before entering battle. Tibetan monks practice it for decades until it becomes the center of their existence. And modern neuroscience reached the same conclusions from the laboratory. Conscious breathing transforms the state of the nervous system in real time. Not in weeks, not in years, in minutes. Now connect everything I've told you. Consciousness is not an intellectual luxury. Consciousness is the state from which you operate. And that state directly depends on how you treat your body every day, on the quality of what you consume, on the speed at which you eat, on how you breathe, on how you sit, on the order or chaos of the space you inhabit. It's on the type of information you allow to enter your attentional field every morning. All of that is the hardware. And if the hardware is in survival mode, no positive thought will hack the system. But if you begin giving the hardware the right signals, something happens. Something I cannot fully describe with words because it is not a concept understood intellectually. It is something experienced. Like the silkworm that at some point in its process stops being a worm before becoming a butterfly, there is a moment when something inside you simply changes. Autopilot stops having so much power. Reactions become slower, more observed. A space appears between stimulus and response, and in that space is everything. In that space is freedom. Viktor Frankl expressed it from the horror of the concentration camps with a lucidity that shakes you. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. But in that space lies our power to choose our response. In our response lie our growth and our freedom. That is consciousness. It is not an elevated state reserved for the enlightened. It is the ability to pause, the ability not to react automatically. And that ability is trained. It is trained with the body. It is trained with the smallest and most concrete habits of each day. There is something else I want to tell you about attention that has implications far beyond personal psychology. Quantum physics introduced a concept that still makes many scientists uncomfortable because its implications are too large: the observer effect. At the subatomic level, matter behaves differently when it is observed than when it is not. A particle can exist in multiple superposed states simultaneously until the moment it is observed. At that moment, it collapses into a defined state. I am not trying to make a direct and simplistic translation of quantum physics into human psychology, but there is something philosophical here worth serious reflection. Attention is not passive. Attention is not simply registering what is already there. Attention interacts with what it observes. It modifies, it influences, it creates. What you observe in yourself consistently begins to consolidate. If you constantly observe yourself as someone incapable, someone unlucky, someone who always repeats the same mistakes, that consolidates. Not as a magical curse, but as a neurological pattern reinforced every time the thought repeats. And the opposite is also true. If you begin observing yourself as someone who learns, someone who has agency, someone whose body and mind are allies and not enemies, that pattern is also reinforced. But attention. Here is the trap. It is not enough to think you observe yourself differently. You have to feel it in the body. The new narrative must have a bodily experience supporting it. Yet otherwise, it is just a new coat of paint over the same rotten structure. That is why affirmations alone do not work for most people, because the body has not had the experience of what the mind affirms. There is dissonance, and the body always wins that conversation because the body has been in the game longer. For a new narrative to truly install itself, it needs to be accompanied by a new bodily experience. And that bodily experience is created through repeated and conscious physical actions. Through the body experiencing, even in small ways, what the mind wants to believe. Something almost magical happens when you begin this process, when you start applying presence to everyday acts, when you start chewing consciously and breathing intentionally and organizing the space you inhabit and carefully choosing what you allow into your attentional field. Your perception of time changes. Life stops rushing by without you feeling it. Moments begin to have texture. And with that texture comes something most adults have almost completely lost: the capacity for wonder. Children live in that state. We call it living in the present because they have not yet learned to live in their heads. For them, eating a fruit is a complete experience. For them, feeling rainwater on their skin is an event worthy of full attention. For them, each moment has its own weight. And as we grow and autopilot installs itself, we lose that capacity. The world stops astonishing us. Life becomes a to-do list. The body stops being felt and starts being managed. Returning to the body is, in a sense, returning to that primary state of consciousness. Not with naivety, but with the added wisdom of someone who has lived. With the ability to consciously choose presence instead of falling into it unconsciously. Now, I want to talk to you about something I consider the most underestimated and at the same time most transformative practice that exists. And it is so simple that it almost feels embarrassing to say it. Sitting in silence and doing absolutely nothing. Not meditating with technique, not visualizing, not repeating mantras, simply sitting, feeling the body, noticing the breath, watching thoughts pass without getting hooked by them, for 10 minutes, just 10 minutes a day. I know what you're thinking. You've heard this 1,000 times. But listen to me. Most people who try it abandon it after 3 days because they don't understand what is happening. They expect the mind to fall silent. They expect immediate peace. And when the mind keeps roaring, when the thoughts don't stop, they conclude that they are not capable of meditating, that it's not for them, that it doesn't work. Fundamental mistake. The goal is not to silence the mind. The goal is to change your relationship with your own thoughts, to move from being the thought to being the one who observes the thought. And that distinction is absolutely revolutionary. When you identify with your thoughts, when you believe you are your thoughts, you are their slave. Any thought of fear frightens you. Any thought of doubt paralyzes you. Any thought of anger drags you along, because there is no distance between you and the thought. They are the same. And when you begin to observe your thoughts as if they were clouds passing through the sky, without refusing to see them, but without chasing them either, something changes. An observer appears. A consciousness appears that is not the thought, but the one that sees it. And that witnessing consciousness, as the Vedantic traditions call it, is your deepest nature. It is the place from which you can act freely instead of reacting automatically. This is not abstract philosophy, where it has immediate practical consequences. Because when you are no longer the slave of every thought crossing your mind, you recover the power to choose which ones deserve your attention. And when you choose where to place your attention, you choose which circuits to reinforce. And when you choose which circuits to reinforce, over time, you are literally redesigning your brain. That is neuroplasticity in action, not as a book concept, as real practice. And there is something I want to add here about space. The space you inhabit. The ancients knew it. The Romans built their homes and cities following principles now called sacred architecture. The designers of great temples were not thinking only about aesthetics. They were thinking about how space affects the inner state of the one who inhabits it. Proportions, light, airflow, types of materials, everything had a function. And that function was to create external conditions so the internal experience would have a certain quality. Your room, your desk, the corner where you eat, the space where you sleep, everything is sending constant signals to your nervous system. Chaos sends signals of danger. Clutter activates small alarms. Dirt creates cognitive friction. But a clean, orderly space with natural light, natural elements, plants, wood, stone sends signals of safety and calm. And calm is the fertile ground where consciousness grows. You cannot flourish in a minefield. You cannot develop mental clarity in an environment constantly bombarding your nervous system with alarm signals. The environment matters. The environment becomes part of what you are. Because what you consume with your eyes, your ears, your skin is also food. And that food also builds who you are. We are reaching a point in this journey where I want to be completely direct with you. What I have told you today is not new information in the cosmic sense. The wise of all cultures have always known this. The shamans of the Amazon know it when they prepare their ceremonies with days of fasting and strict diets before contacting expanded states of consciousness. Zen monks know it when they turn a tea preparation into a full ceremony of presence. Ayurvedic masters know it when they insist that the time, the company, and the emotional state in which you eat are as important as what you eat. Sufis know it when they use dance as a portal to states of consciousness that the ordinary mind cannot reach. All of them, from different cultures and different eras, arrived at the same conclusion. The body is the temple. Not in the moral sense of purity, in the practical sense that it is the instrument through which you experience existence, and the quality of the instrument determines the quality of the experience. If the instrument is dulled by autopilot, by unconscious consumption, by chronic nervous system agitation, the life experience you have through that instrument is limited, reactive, automatic. But if the instrument is tuned through presence, through conscious consumption, through the calm of a trained nervous system, the life experience you have through that instrument is completely different. Clearer, freer, more truly yours. And this is precisely what I want to tell you right now before we reach the end, because there is something important I want you to know. You have been searching for a while. I know this because if you were not someone who searches, you would not be here right now. Most people never get this far. They stay on the surface. They settle for easy entertainment, quick answers, the illusion of understanding that comes from watching something without changing anything. But you made it here, and that already says something about you. And if you truly want what you heard today, not to remain just another piece of information stored in your head, if you want it to become real transformation, change you can feel in your body, I need to ask you for something. Subscribe to this channel, activate the notification bell. Because what we are building here is not entertainment. It is a school. It is a space where every video is a piece of a